The sun was high in the sky, bathing the university campus in a warm, welcoming glow. It was the big day, Tawa's graduation day, and the atmosphere was charged with an energy that pulsed like a collective heartbeat. The sky was clear, with no clouds in sight, as if the universe itself had conspired to make this moment even more unforgettable. Guests began to gather, their voices intertwining in a chorus of excitement and anticipation. Men and women in elegant attire chatted animatedly, their laughter and murmurs creating a symphony of celebration. Every detail was meticulously planned. Comfortable chairs were arranged in perfect rows, and a red carpet stretched down the aisle, adding a touch of glamour to the occasion. Families hugged and greeted each other, their faces beaming with pride and joy. Among them, Tawa's family stood out with a mix of anxiety and enthusiasm. Her father, Sika, fidgeted with his suit, his hand trembling slightly as he tried to adjust his tie. Her mother, Kimmy, with eyes shining with pride, carefully ran her hand through her hair while attempting to capture the essence of the moment with her camera. The sparkle in her eyes reflected the certainty that this was a milestone, not only for Tawa, but for the entire family. Tawa, at the center of all attention, was a bit nervous, but her smile was a perfect mask of confidence and joy. Her gown, with its vibrant colors and subtle details, floated around her as she moved with an almost ethereal grace. The cap on her head seemed like a badge of her achievement, a symbol of years of hard work and dedication. As the minutes passed, the audience settled in, and the anticipation became almost palpable. The rising murmur of conversations was replaced by respectful quiet. Every face in the crowd was turned toward the stage, eager to witness the ceremony that, for many, marked the culmination of an extraordinary journey. Amid this celebratory atmosphere, Tawa felt the weight and significance of the moment. A sense of accomplishment and gratitude filled her heart. She knew the day was more than just an academic formality. It was a testament to her strength, resilience, and the unwavering support of her family. She looked around, admiring the beauty and significance of the ceremony, unaware that, among the guests, an unexpected presence was about to change the dynamics of the day in ways no one could foresee. As the ceremony unfolded with its flawless rhythm, a new figure began making her way through the guests. The tension in the air became almost palpable, as the constant murmur of cheerful voices was replaced by a growing surprise that spread through the audience. She appeared with slow, deliberate steps, barefoot, her feet touching the cement floor with an unexpected lightness. Tawa's grandmother, Naya, moved forward with a serene expression, but her appearance starkly contrasted with the surrounding luxury. Her dress, though simple and worn, carried a lifetime of stories in every thread. The creases and wear spoke of a life of hard work and dedication, where appearance often took a back seat to what was in the heart. Naya wasn't wearing sandals, and the guests' eyes were drawn to her dirty, rough feet, a stark mismatch with the polished and elegant surroundings. Her presence seemed almost surreal in the refined setting, like a figure from an old tale amidst a modern celebration. The contrast between her appearance and the surrounding splendor was so striking that it sparked a wave of whispers and curious glances. If you're enjoying the story so far, leave a like and comment below what you would do. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Some guests murmured among themselves, their expressions ranging from confusion to mild condescension. The conversations that had been filled with enthusiasm were replaced by furtive glances and discreet comments. The scene was an unexpected spectacle. Naya's figure, with her simplicity and unwavering dignity, contrasted sharply with the opulence of the surroundings. Even with the visible discomfort of some, there was something undeniably impressive about Naya's presence. She seemed to carry an aura of tranquility and strength that nothing could shake, even in a moment so charged with expectations and appearances. As she slowly made her way to her seat, the murmurs shifted to a softer, almost reverent tone, as people began to appreciate the depth and strength of the woman before them. Naya's arrival did not go unnoticed. As she approached her seat, the atmosphere around her seemed to pulse with a subtle but evident shift. What had started as curious whispers quickly turned into a wave of disdain. The guests, dressed in impeccable attire and adorned with polite smiles, now turned their eyes toward Naya with looks of bewilderment and judgment. Subtle gestures of disdain emerged discreetly. Someone adjusted their jacket's label as if Naya's dirty feet were a threat to their own sense of style. A lady adjusted her hat with a look of contempt, her eyes casting sharp glances at the grandmother. The whispered comments were like a cold wind sweeping through the audience. "Did you see that woman? Barefoot in the middle of all this? What a lack of respect. It doesn't make sense, such a shabby appearance at such a formal event." The words were almost imperceptible but carried a corrosive weight, each one adding to the growing atmosphere of discomfort and judgment. As Naya searched for her seat among the guests, some looks were accompanied by disguised scorn. A group of young people, in their flashy outfits and carefree laughter, couldn't hide their disdainful smiles. One of them whispered something to the others, causing them all to turn and observe Naya with a mix of curiosity and disdain. Their low, muffled laughter formed a small comedy of looks and gestures that was far from going unnoticed. Even among those trying to maintain their composure, Naya's presence seemed to create a subtle divide. Eyes were averted, and some conversations lost their intensity, as if the mere sight of the grandmother was an unwelcome reminder of something out of place. The scene was marked by a growing tension, a subtle coldness hanging over the ceremony, a reminder of how appearance could define a person's worth in the eyes of others. Amid all this, Naya settled into her seat with serene dignity, oblivious to the wave of disdain surrounding her. Her posture was one of unshakable calm, contrasting with the agitation of the looks and murmurs around her. Each step she took seemed to amplify the awkward silence hanging over the audience, as guests tried to adjust their perceptions and distance themselves from the strange intruder in their midst. The ceremony was at a brief pause, a gentle breeze flowing through the space, bringing with it the freshness of new anticipation. The stage was illuminated, and the microphone awaited the next speaker. The crowd, which had been distracted by their observations and comments, was now gathered in a state of silent anticipation. Tawa walked confidently onto the stage, but her heart was racing. The spotlight's glare reflected off her cap, and she scanned the audience, taking in the anxious faces waiting for her words. She positioned herself behind the podium, took a deep breath, and adjusted the microphone. Her presence was magnetic, and the calm she exuded seemed to transform the tension in the room into an aura of anticipation. As she began to speak, her voice was soft but filled with emotional depth, making each word resonate with clarity and sincerity. "Good morning, everyone," she started, her voice trembling slightly but gaining strength as she continued. "Today is a very special day for me, and I would like to share something with all of you." Tawa paused, her eyes meeting her grandmother's, who was seated with an expression of love and support. "I think many of you know me only as the student who earned a diploma, but there is much more behind this moment than just an academic achievement." Her gaze briefly shifted to the audience, observing the faces still carrying a hint of disdain. "Today, I want to talk about what really matters, about love, respect, and the true value of our actions." Her voice trembled with the strength of her emotions, but her determination was unwavering. Tawa continued, her speech growing more intense and personal. "I grew up in a home where love wasn't measured by material things, but by acts of kindness and sacrifice. My grandmother Naya, whom many of you saw today, represents true strength and dignity. She is the heart of my story, and without her, I wouldn't be here today." She took a deep breath, and as she looked at Naya, she saw her grandmother with eyes shining with pride and tears. "Naya taught me that true wealth isn't in the clothes we wear or the status we have, but in how we treat each other. She showed me that every person deserves respect, not for their appearance, but for who they truly are." The audience was in deep silence, absorbing every word. Tawa's words carried an emotional weight that touched everyone present. Her speech was a powerful reminder that dignity and love are the true treasures that define us. When Tawa finished, there was a moment of quiet, almost reverent, as the guests processed the impact of her words. Her voice, which had started with a slight tremor, was now firm and clear, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of all who were there to witness that transformative moment. As Tawa spoke, her eyes became glazed with distant memories. The audience, mesmerized, could see the young woman not just at her graduation ceremony, but also traveling through the corridors of time, diving into a past filled with challenges and love. She began with a melancholic yet affectionate tone. "When I was little, my life was very different from today. There were no fancy clothes or gala events, just simplicity and daily struggle." Her gaze seemed to penetrate the room, reflecting on those tough days with a mix of tenderness and gratitude. We imagined little Tawa running barefoot in a modest home, where the furniture was sparse and the walls worn. Grandmother Naya was a constant presence, a rock amid life's storms. I remember the nights when moonlight would stream through the window and I would snuggle under a rough blanket. Grandma, with her calloused hands, always made a point of telling me stories before bed. Stories of courage, hope, and dreams. Tawa paused, her face lighting up with a smile that was both sad and comforting. Naya worked tirelessly to ensure that I had the best she could offer, even when the best was just enough to keep us warm. She did laundry, cleaned houses, and even after a grueling day, she never missed giving me a goodnight kiss and reminding me that I was special. She continued, her voice now more resolute, filled with clear determination. During one of the worst winters I remember, our house lost heating and the cold was biting. Instead of complaining or succumbing to despair, Naya wrapped me in a tight hug, saying that no matter how cold the world might be, her love kept us warm. And that made all the difference. The audience seemed spellbound, absorbing every word and every image evoked by Tawa's memories. Naya never had much in terms of material wealth, but she had an invaluable treasure: the courage to face any challenge with dignity, and the unconditional love that always made me feel I could do anything. The silence in the room was profound, and Tawa's words created a space for intimate reflection for everyone listening. Her childhood story, woven with the thread of her grandmother's sacrifice and devotion, shed new light on the understanding that true wealth is found in the strength of love and resilience in the face of adversity. Tawa took a deep breath, soaking in the strength of the memories she had just shared. Her gaze became distant, yet with a clarity that seemed to light up the stage. "Today I'd like to talk about something beyond achievements and appearances. I want to talk about the true value of love," she began, her voice carrying an emotional depth that resonated in every word. She continued, "My grandmother Naya taught me something that isn't in history books or diplomas. She showed me that unconditional love isn't just a feeling but a daily practice. It's the force that moves us, that makes us get up and face the world, even when it seems impossible." As she spoke, the audience seemed to sink into a deep silence, absorbing every nuance of Tawa's speech. Naya never had much in terms of material goods. She didn't have jewelry or luxury cars. But she had something far more valuable: a heart that beat strongly with a love without limits. She taught me that the true value of love lies in its ability to unite us, to make us feel that no matter how dark the night may be, there is always a light. The young woman paused, letting her words settle like dust after a storm. "I learned that true wealth is not found in possessions, but in the impact we have on the lives of those around us. It's in the small acts of kindness, the gestures of support, and the moments of empathy." Naya taught me that when we love someone without expecting anything in return, we are creating a legacy of compassion that extends far beyond ourselves. Tawa looked directly at the audience, her eyes conveying a sincerity that was almost tangible. "True love is a love expressed through our actions, our patience, and our ability to see the best in others. It's what makes us help a stranger, comfort a friend, and offer a smile to someone in need. It's a love that transcends appearances and connects with what is most essential in each of us." She smiled, a look of tenderness and wisdom on her lips. "If there's one lesson I take from today, it's this: true wealth comes from the heart. It's reflected in how we treat each other and the love we give without expecting anything in return. That is the most precious gift we can offer and receive." The audience was now in a state of deep introspection, touched by the sincerity and power of Tawa's words. The true value of love, as she described it, was a powerful reminder that what really matters in life isn't what we have, but what we give. And in that moment, everyone was united by a shared understanding of the wealth found in true love. Tawa's speech echoed through the room, her words still lingering in the air like a deep and penetrating whisper. The silence that followed was almost tangible, a calm charged with an emotional intensity that caused everyone present to drift into their own thoughts. The audience, once buzzing with anticipation and whispered comments, was now immersed in silent reflection. Eyes that had previously been suspicious or disdainful were now cast downward, lost in introspective thought. Faces that had shown superficial smiles and expressions of surprise began to reveal signs of internal change, as if Tawa's words had sparked a moment of self-reflection. Among the guests, there was a woman in an elegant evening gown, who was now adjusting her hat mechanically, her eyes distant. She was thinking about the times she had judged people based on their appearances, the moments when empathy was set aside in favor of a critical gaze. Near her, a man in a dark suit who had previously smiled with disdain was now frowning, the weight of Tawa's words making an impact. He recalled the times he had treated employees coldly, viewing them as mere pieces in a business game, without recognizing the dignity and effort they brought every day. A young couple who had laughed at Naya's unexpected appearance now looked at each other with a new understanding. Tawa's words resonated in their minds, and a sense of shame began to seep in, replacing their initial contempt with feelings of regret and a desire for change. Tawa's parents, who had watched the ceremony with pride, were now immersed in silent reflection. Her mother, Kimi, held her father Sika's hand with a gesture of deep understanding. Both were revisiting their own attitudes and recognizing the need to cultivate a more genuine empathy, inspired by the strength and unconditional love they had heard in their daughter's story. Each guest was, in some way, confronted with the raw truth of how their attitudes and judgments affect others. The atmosphere, once filled with superficial expectations and appearances, was now imbued with a collective sense of introspection. The ceremony had become a mirror reflecting not only Tawa's journey but also the inner journeys of those present. The impact of the speech was profound and far-reaching, causing everyone there to question how they treated those around them. It was a moment of silent transformation, where the true meaning of love and dignity began to take root in everyone's hearts, inviting them to rethink their attitudes and seek a deeper, more sincere connection with others. Tawa's speech had ended, and the room had fallen into a dense, almost palpable silence. The lively chatter that had once filled the space was replaced by a quiet that seemed to extend and deepen, enveloping every corner of the room with a sense of introspection. The guests, still absorbing the depth of Tawa's words, were paralyzed by a silence that was both reverent and awkward. Every face in the audience seemed to reflect an internal struggle, a battle between pride and shame, between the desire to maintain appearances and the need to acknowledge the truth that had been so eloquently revealed. Some exchanged glances, seeking connection with others as if searching for mutual understanding amid a sea of conflicting thoughts. Others simply kept their eyes on the floor, unable to directly confront the reality that had been so powerfully unveiled. It was as if the environment itself was absorbing the weight of the speech, creating an atmosphere thick with silent and profound reflection. Young Tawa, still on stage, was immersed in the same silence. She felt the impact of her words, each one resonating in a way she had not anticipated. Her heart beat with a mix of anxiety and relief, knowing she had touched something deep in those around her. The audience, in their collective introspection, was absorbed by a sense of discomfort and fully grasped the extent of the message that had been shared. Tawa's speech had left an indelible mark, forcing everyone present to confront their own attitudes and prejudices in a direct and unavoidable way. The silence was thus a reflection of the transformation unfolding at that moment. It was a silence that carried the weight of new understandings and shifts in perspective, a silence that spoke louder than any words could express. And so, in that moment of quiet, the impact of Tawa's speech manifested in a visceral and profound way. touching the essence of each individual and creating a space for reflection and personal growth. As the silence continued to envelop the room, one figure stood out subtly among the audience. Naya, Tawa's grandmother. Seated in her simple chair, barefoot and in her modest dress, the grandmother seemed a silent embodiment of strength and dignity. The impact of her granddaughter's speech had deeply touched her heart, and emotions began to show in her serene expression. Naya's eyes were shining with tears, not of sadness, but of deep satisfaction and pride. Each of Tawa's words had been like a gentle touch on her heart, and now the emotion was clear in every line of her weathered face. With a slow, deliberate motion, Naya lifted her hand to wipe away a solitary tear rolling down her cheek. Her posture, which had shown unwavering dignity throughout the ceremony, now seemed to radiate a serene strength. She sat upright, like a rock standing firm amid storms. The look she gave to the stage was filled with a mixture of deep love and gratitude, an expression that seemed to tell everyone around her that the true value of love and dignity was something she had understood and lived fully. Some guests began to notice Naya's reaction, and the contrast between her simplicity and the intensity of her emotions created an almost hypnotic effect. She didn't need words to convey the strength of her character. Her silent presence spoke volumes about the life she had lived and the impact she had on those around her. Naya made a subtle gesture of gratitude towards her granddaughter, a gentle smile on her lips reflecting silent pride and deep love. In her eyes, there was a light that seemed to illuminate not only her own journey, but also that of the audience watching her. At that moment, she was the embodiment of everything Tawa had spoken about: courage, unconditional love, and the true richness that comes from the heart. As the audience continued to process the impact of Tawa's words, Naya's reaction became a tangible symbol of what it meant to live with dignity and strength. Her emotion not only reinforced her granddaughter's message, but also provided a powerful demonstration of how true greatness is found in simplicity and in the love given freely. The sun was beginning to set, casting a soft golden light over the ceremony, which as the hours passed had transformed into a space of deep reflection. What began as a festive and traditional event had now evolved into something far more significant, imbued with new understandings and feelings. The guests, still immersed in the depth of Tawa's words and the silent dignity of Naya, began to experience a subtle but powerful shift in their perspectives. The atmosphere, once filled with superficiality and judgment, had now become a space of recognition and introspection. Gazes that had once been critical and distant now approached with greater attentiveness and respect. Some people moved closer to Naya with gestures of sincere admiration, their faces illuminated with newfound understanding. Conversations that had previously revolved around appearances and status now turned to deeper discussions about the true essence of respect and empathy. A group of guests who had laughed at Naya's appearance were now gathered in a corner, speaking with a more serious and reflective tone. Their words were filled with regret and a sincere desire to change. They talked about the importance of seeing beyond appearances and recognizing the dignity in every human being, regardless of their appearance or condition. Some parents, who had watched the ceremony with a mix of pride and emotional distance, were now approaching Tawa and Naya, eager to express their own recognition and gratitude. They now understood more than ever the true meaning of empathy and respect that had been so eloquently conveyed in the speech. As the guests began to disperse, there was a palpable sense of change in the air. The respect for Tawa's grandmother, once minimized and misunderstood, was now accompanied by deep admiration and a desire to embody the same dignity and strength she represented. The ceremony had ended, but the impact of the day continued to resonate, transforming everyone's understanding of true respect and empathy. Night fell, bringing with it a promise of renewal and a new beginning. What had started as a celebration of personal achievements now concluded with a richer and deeper understanding of what it truly means to treat others with dignity and love. Thus, the shift in perspective that began with a young woman's speech and her grandmother's reaction had spread, creating a legacy of respect and empathy that would last long beyond that special day.